Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the weekly. Well, it's supposed to be weekly, but I don't always get around to it. Anyway, the weekly take on the meta. We got some Cathay results in now, and I think that's the big news story. Grand Cathay are seemingly thus far overpowered. I want to do a video just dedicated to the effect of like new factions on the meta, because in essence what we've seen is we've seen the arcane journals being released, and actually I don't think any of them have like substantially rewritten how factions work. So the sub factions don't operate like entirely new factions, as it were. So we haven't really had an entirely new rule set. Now, I'm saying that, and I'm quickly trawling through all the factions in my head just to make sure that there isn't one that I think would be. But I think, like, your high elf sub factions still play like high elves. Krace is a little bit different because it's more of an infantry. No, that's not true then, is it? No, because it's just infantry and chariots. Interesting. So, yeah. And Krace are also like pretty close to the top of the meta. Now, before anybody starts saying, "Oh, Cathay are totally broke," they're not totally broken. We can't say that for certain yet. We can suspect it, but we can't really say it for certain because you see that games figure there. Can I zoom in? I sort of can. I don't think that helps. But you see the games number there. That's 34. So we've got official. Actually, I'll talk about that in a second. Yeah. So from the core launch to today, this includes all the results. If we just go for, let's say, 1.5, which it's not 1.5 because version history. If you've got 1. Well, really, like, like I don't know why we're doing versions like this, because like typically your like version would be like version 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But then like when you get to 10, you go version 1.11 because it's version, like it's kind of like a master release 1, but then it's version 11 of that, right? That's. But anyway, we've got 1.5.1 for some reason. I don't get these numbering conventions. Gomo is a software developer, so I'm sure he understands them way better than I do. I don't really get what that actually supposed to mean. But anyway, if we go for that, then and apply, then we can see since the errata Mortuary Cults, who I don't think got nerfed at all. In the recent set of, I mean, I know the recent set of changes basically nerfed wizards, but I don't really think Mortuary Cults still get ridiculous bonuses to cast. So, they haven't really been dwindled that much. They've gone from ridiculously overpowered, super reliable spell casting to just super reliable spell casting. So it's no longer ridiculously overpowered. The big problem, however, is Cathay. And we'll talk about that in a second. So, but okay. So why is it not? Why can't we say anything? So these stats. So a normal distribution, of which a win percentage is a type of this data as well, is what we call parametric data, right? Sorry, is what we call normally distributed data, which you can then do statistical tests on. That essentially are parametric in nature. They rely on a normal or a parabolic, a bell curve distribution of results, and therefore you need a reasonable number in order to start to say that those results are reliable. There is a book that a chap called Yamane Taro published in 1967, where it's like a handbook for positivists, right? It's a guide to how to do statistical analysis. It's one of, I think it's one of the earliest like nowadays, you might use one of the like, how to use SPSS, which would do the same thing in modern parlance, but it's kind of the forerunner to that. Anyway, Yamane Taro talks about how to determine like the confidence you can put in your findings based on the sample size. And, if you follow the formula to the nth degree, you essentially end up with a population of, I can't remember the exact number, it's like 487 or 494 or something like that, which is the number at which you can say that your sample is probably a good indicator of the wider population. So, for instance, if you want to say, all in general men think this, you need to ask 500 men, and then if 500 men largely agree on something, then you can generalize that out to a population. There are boundaries or sensible boundaries that you should put around that, but so for instance, you wouldn't interview 500 chaps across the planet and then not give any regard to their kind of culture, the culture within which they are saying these things. So but you could say, for instance, interview 500 people in England or California or New York or whatever, and or DC, District of Columbia or whatever, and or France, or I'm going to stop naming states now because that will be a very boring video as I name various states across the world. But once you get to that 500 number, you can then say that you're reasonably confident that your findings are real, and they're not based on like a kind of a random set of results, or they're not skewed by one result or whatever. There are, I've spoken to Gom about this. There are tons of parametric testing that you can do to sort of verify the data, but it's or verify. Like, for instance, you can look at the skedacity of the data, and that's essentially the shape of the data. And does it look like, it's parametric, it's a bell curve or not? Anyway, so the cutoff points are, I would say it's totally unreliable if you've got less than about 30 instances of it. So that's why I don't like a lot of health research, because often it's something like, oh, we took 24 untrained 18-year-olds and fed them carrots for a fortnight. And, but then it's like, well, you took 18. I mean, that's nothing. Like, that's a very tiny sample. Like, it doesn't, you can't generalize at that level at all, really. Like, your kind of confidence level is something like 10% at that level. Like, it's just, oh yeah, I'm 10% confident in my findings. Well, you're not then, are you? You might as well not have them. So I'd say below 30, so 30 events, you can't really use that data at all. Totally unreliable. And we're only at 10 events for Cathay, right? So this data, totally unreliable, not enough. That's not Gomo's fault. That's not the site's fault. That's just, and in fact, we're not just looking, I know it says Australia up here, but we're not looking Australia, because you set for the faction stats down here on this site, you set your region here. So Grand Cathay, not enough results for this data for us to have any real confidence in the data. Once you get up to about 30, you can have a little bit. 30 allows you to very tentatively propose conclusions. So essentially, very tentatively. So if this were, let's say, 30, and 30 games isn't enough because we're looking at win percentages at events. So we're looking at events. That's the right number to determine what the sample size actually is. 34 games doesn't really tell you anything. And the main reason we're looking at sort of wins at tournaments rather than wins in isolation is because essentially as you go through a tournament, you kind of get matched at people who are more similar to your level. So you want to see tournament results rather than just games in isolation. Anyway, so the Downers outperforming at the moment. This is like super tentative. Like, you can't really draw a lot of conclusions from it, but it's a very strong start from Cathay. You can say that, very strong start, possibly a little bit too strong. Then we go down to the Croatian Warhost. Sorry, so I was talking about the cutoff point. So it's like 30 and then about 100, and then 500 roughly. So you can have a tentative, like, proposed, well, maybe this is a thing once you get to about 30. Below that, it's like anybody's guess, really. There might be something, probably not. Once you get to 100, you're a bit more like, well, I mean, it seems to suggest this, but we don't really have a good enough sample size. But once you're up to 100, it's like, well, this seems like more or less where it'll probably end up. But, let's wait for all the data to come in before we're pretty conclusive. So that's more or less where Crace are at the moment. It's like, yeah, it looks like they're doing quite well. It looks actually like they're top of the meta, which is really interesting. Like, they've leapfrogged Khemri and Exiles. And I, personally, I didn't see that from looking at the stuff that's in the Arcane Journal. I've still not done my High Elf book review yet, so apologies. I might do it at some point, but it's not a priority because it's so long ago now. I'm not sure it'd get a lot of traffic. Not that any of my videos do, and not that I really care about that. I don't even know why I said that. That's not... that just seemed like the right thing to say at that point, but, it's funny, like, when you do things, like, how the kind of the culture of being that thing kind of permeates into your thinking, and like I just said, like, I really genuinely don't care about that, but I said it because, like, a bit of me is like, oh, you need to pretend to be a YouTuber, and I'm like, well, actually, no, I don't. I just, that's not why I'm doing this. I'm not, I don't want to make money out of this. This isn't my career. It's just for interest, really. And it's because, like, my day job doesn't really involve... My day job involves a lot of longitudinal analysis, whereas this stuff here is kind of cross-sectional. Yes, it's based on data that's collected over time, but it's like, at this point in time, the results are this. So it's more cross-sectional than longitudinal, although there is a longitudinal aspect to it. So the difference, basically, cross-section is like you take a snapshot at this point in time and you analyse the data then and there, and that's it. Longitudinal analysis is like looking at data trends over time. So because this is a snapshot of performance as now, it's cross-sectional. Anything that was like a win percentage over time would be a longitudinal presentation of the data, or a longitudinal presentation of longitudinal data. Whereas this technically is a cross-sectional presentation of longitudinal data, I think. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Put it in the comments. But anyway, I'm not sure that's entirely right, and I don't know why, and I can't remember why, but there's a little alarm bell going off in the back of my head. Anyway, so Crace seem to be, I mean, again, that's probably where they'll end up, but they seem to be doing quite well at the moment. Now, the range there, that's essentially the normal range. So you've got a win percentage of 50.5%. You've got a standard deviation of 27.4. So your standard deviation is essentially, that determines the normal range. So your plus or minus that gives you your normal range. So it's 23.1% to 77.9% is the normal range for results. So if you're in that bracket and you've got that faction, well done, you're performing averagely. If you're below that, maybe you need to tweak your list. If you're above that, good on you, well done. Keep going. So the 23%, so what does that really mean, the range? What does it really mean? Well, essentially, winning only one game at a 5-game tournament is not normal for Crace. Winning 4 also isn't normal. So if you've only won one game at a 5-game tournament, you need to, look at what you're doing, because you're not doing quite so well. And if you're winning 4 or 5 at a 5-game tournament, then great. If you're at a 3-game tournament, actually winning 2 or 3 games is pretty normal, right? So if 1, 2 or 3, because 1 is 33%. Sorry, winning 1 or 2 games, idiot, at a 3-game tournament is pretty normal. So yeah, because that's 33% and 67%, isn't it, as the rounded percentages for those particular results. So winning all 3, you're doing well. Losing all 3, you probably need to have a look at what other people are doing, because you're a bit behind the mark. I mean, obviously that doesn't account for like luck. So, you could have some games that, and that's why you need about 5. That's why you need more results, because there will be some people who've just got lucky or unlucky, and it's not really their fault. but and they've moved the data around. And then we've got Crace, Khemri, Exiles, Mortuary Cult, So this is over all time, and at the bottom we've got Lizardmen and Skaven, who are a bit of a problem. Dwarves, Ogres, Empire, Dark Elves. I'm not surprised those are down there. They are quite difficult to play with. Wolves of the Sea, we're up to 370 results with them, and they're pretty poor. Which is weird, actually, because you see them like podium and also win events every now and again. So there are decent lists out there. It's just maybe people aren't taking them. Maybe people are a bit more characterful with it. Maybe people like the skin walls a bit too much, because I think most of the more competitive lists I've seen do have skin walls, but not that many, like normally 3. So, yeah. And then, of course, Gummo's also, one thing he's also done is he's looked at essentially the average for the whole population and then taken the standard distribution of all of it, and those that are underperforming the global pop become... Now, annoyingly, that will be skewed by Grand Cathay, because that's going to change the global stats up. So, if we take... now... let's take from the errata and have a look at that. Now, this also has a button down here that says 10 plus appearances, so you have to have 10 appearances in order to count on the chart. Personally, I'd make it 30, but, well, would I? I'd have another slider for 30, 100 and 500, to be honest, because then that kind of... Well, actually, I wouldn't. If it were me, I'd actually use the proper numbers that I can't remember off the top of my head, but whatever. But actually, as a kind of ready reckoner, 10 will do, actually. Right, but 30 would be... Well, it's not 30, it's not... Is it 28? I think it's 28 is like the first kind of... And at which point you get 10% cover. I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, shut up, Dan, talk about this. So, since the latest errata, like I said, Mortuary Cult are doing quite well still. They've always been, top or near top of the meta, really. Again, only 13 events. So these are, this is still really early days with all of these results, really. But I really wouldn't be surprised if Mortuary Cult end up there or thereabouts. Again, they are very strong. They haven't really lost much in terms of casting. So, and casting was their thing. So, because basically what they can do is they can hurt their units, hurt their swarms, I think, and take D3 damage, and then they add D3 damage that they've taken to the... Oh no, they get to choose the number of wounds. I can't remember the rule exactly off the top of my head. But anyway, they can give themselves a big bonus to casting in exchange for doing a little bit of damage on a unit that they can just immediately resurrect back. So they get cast bonuses for fun, and massive cast bonuses as well, not just like a little +1 like Tzeentch. The God of Magic and Change gets a +1 bonus, whereas the Mortuary Cultists, who are basically priests to a dead rebel proto quasi god, rather than the god of all magic, get a much better bonus to cast for some reason, which is interesting. And then at the bottom we got dwarves, wood elves, ogres, dark elves. Now, of course, we've not got we've not clicked 10 plus appearances. If we put those with less than 10, with fewer than 10 appearances, you've also got like Skaven and stuff down there as well. Yeah, we not that fussed about them. But dwarves, wood elves, standard dwarves, of course. I think I'd imagine that. See, Crace is doing quite well. Mortuary Cult, again, these kind of whiskers with this level of results are almost entirely irrelevant. Well, in fact, the data is almost entirely irrelevant because you've got Exiles down there on a 46. I mean, that would be interesting if that continues over time. If we take from... Let's say, the last FAQ to today. Then we hopefully should have a bit more data. And again, Cathay are kind of skewing the results a bit. But you got Exiles, Crace. Exiles was 678 results, Crace with 103, so fairly tentative for Crace. 1,000 results for Khemri. Is that really since January to July? Wow. That's a lot of... 300 events for Khemri. I'm looking at games, not events. Yeah, so a lot of these, there's not an awful lot of data. I mean, we really need to get more people going to tournaments, so there's more data to talk about. But Lidenman and Skaven at the bottom, you know, real sad times for those two. But, you know, maybe the... But then again, like when we turn on Renegade Faction, which is a button that I missed, I didn't really realise what that meant. But basically, if you turn that off, then it includes the data for Renegades. And you see a slightly different pattern emerge, like, you know, Demons, Renegade Demons. Again, 18 events, 15 events, really not enough, super tentative. So don't put too much into this at all. But there's some players who've taken these factions and are doing really well with them, basically. Because like 10 events, that's like, I'd imagine, well, I mean, we know it's not, but like Demons of Chaos, like that 18 events, that could be like, you know, 3 or 4 dudes, you know, going to 3 or 4 events each and taking demons every time. So, you know, that could not be reflective of the overall meta. But then at the bottom you got Dwarves, Dark Elves, Lizardmen, Skaven. Again, the thing is, and the reason I'm talking about this a bit is, well, Dwarves are down there even with 243 events, so they're like getting on for being, that's a reasonably reliable, to be honest. And the range is, you know, a bit disappointing because like 12 to 64%. So what that means is it's unusual for a Dwarven player to win 2 out of 3 at a one-day event. It's usual for them to win 3 out of 5, but 2 out of 3, no. So, you know, they're pretty badly underperforming. Same with Empire. Not normal. I mean, it's nearly normal for them to win 2 out of 3, but it's not normal for them to win 2 out of 3. Whereas, like, I think all of the factions, it pretty much is, yes. And then right at the bottom, you got Skaven, who's, you know, range nearly takes them to 0 results being normal. There was a period last year where, you know, that kind of normal range went negative at the bottom because Skaven was so rubbish. It was pretty normal for them to not where to go, which is, you know, pretty terrible from a game balance perspective. So, you know, based on all this, would I say that the meta is currently balanced? Nope, not at all, not externally anyway. So you know, work needs to be done, I'm afraid, to balance that off. And, you know, I do foresee particular problems with Cathay. So, just to preempt my other video that I'm going to do, and hopefully I can get a guest, which would be nice. It's nice to talk to other people rather than just yourself. I might actually get dressed properly for that. But, you know, I do this on a Wednesday morning. I've just got up and had a coffee. And, you know, it's time to do my stats video. And then I've got to get dressed properly and go to work. But anyway. Yeah. So, just to preempt that video a little bit. So, the problems with Cathay, I mean, I see really 2 big problems. And the first one isn't a problem yet because Miao Ying, the model, isn't out. I think the Celestial Dragon Guard upgrade is way too strong. You know, 9 points for something that's base level weapon skill 5. You know, and you can get up to weapon skill 6. Well, in fact, you can get up to weapon skill 7 with not a tremendous amount of difficulty. For 8 points a model just seems entirely, 9 points a model, or maybe 10 points a model. Even so, just seems entirely broken. Yeah, I know the toughness 3, initiative 3, strength 3. So, but then again, they do have heavy armor and a shield. And they do get to reroll 1s in combat as long as they didn't charge. So basically, it's a big block of a brick of infantry. They're really difficult to shift because they're very heavily armoured. They're quite hard to hit because you can get them up to weapon skill 7. How do you get them up to weapon skill 7, Dan? Well, It's quite simple. The weapon skill 4 base, you give them the Celestial Dragon Guard upgrade. Now, for one freaking point, they get +1 weapon skill, which is worth 1 point. They get +1 leadership, which is +1 weapon skill is probably worth 1 point. +1 leadership might be worth 2. And they then get a 6 at ward, which is probably worth another 3 points. Like two, maybe 3 points a model. So you get a benefit that normally any other faction would pay like 5 or 6 points for per model. They pay 1. So you get this like 6 point per model upgrade. So they should be 15. So there should be 14 points a model. However, they're not. They just get it for 1 point. So you've got these troops that are like, I think they're 9 points, aren't they? Because they come with either shield or halberd. I don't think they have to pay for those. So you can upgrade to drilled as well, which I think costs 1 point a model. Which again is ridiculous because loads of other factions seem to have to pay 2 for drilled. So quite why, Cathay. So Celestial Dragon Guard, I think, are a problem. But Dan, you can only upgrade 1 unit. Yeah, you can only upgrade 1 unit. That's true. 1 unit of infantry and 1 unit of cavalry, which basically is 500 points. So if you've got your big block brick of like 30 Cathay warriors, upgrade them, and then you might have a brick of like 10 Cathayan lancers, which are actually quite good as like, anti-cavalry. They're not good at doing the job that cavalry normally do, but they are pretty good as like an anti-cavalry pick. Because they've got counter charge, and actually because as long as they win a round of combat, they count as charging. So actually they're kind of a weird hybrid cavalry where you actually kind of want the combat res almost with them. So you might even see like units of 15 of them, so they get a couple of ranks. That might be a thing going forwards, because then with a bit of combat res, even if they just push back, they still count as charging the next turn if they just if they follow up instead of pursue. So they are very good. But then give them a 6 at ward and make them weapon skill 5 and leadership 9, and they suddenly become very, very, very good value for money. They are quite cheap as well. So I think the Cathay Jade or Celestial Dragon Guard units are pretty good for their cost. I hear that they're not that good. I hear that, but so how do you get them up to weapon skill 7 was originally the question I asked myself, and I shall hold myself accountable to that. Dick. I don't know why I said that. So how you do that is the weapon skill 4 base. You make them Celestial Dragon Guard, so the weapon skill 5 without doing anything. You then happen to roll the Wind of Yin, I think, and give them +1 weapon skill instead of +1 leadership. And then Miao Ying, who's possibly in the unit, can then cast her +1 weapon skill spell, which gets you up to 7. So you basically end up with a bog standard foot trooper who's got the same weapon skill as a Chaos Lord. Broke, yeah. I don't think many people would argue that that's slightly broken. Oh yeah, and by the way, that infantry model cost 9 points. 9 points. How much does a Chosen Warrior cost? Well over double that. I mean, yeah, to be fair, Chosen Warriors have better armor and stuff, but I'd take Chosen Warriors over Cathay and Guard any day of the week, because they are objectively better in almost every way, apart from weapon skill, which is a bit weird. It's weird that they've decided to load onto that. I get the sense that they've watched too many kung fu films and think that's how Chinese history actually worked. But anyway, let's rather than it being a romanticised ideal of a kind of a China that never really existed, but the Chinese filmmaking departments really want to sell the concept of this land of fearsome warriors as a kind of a propaganda stunt by a communist government. But anyway, let's move on to actual To some real data rather than me talking about geopolitics as usual, because nobody wants to listen to me talk about politics. Well, no, not on this sort of thing anyway. This is about Warhammer, so we don't want real world. We want fantasy. That's the whole bloody point. Right, let's have a look at some results and some lists and stuff. Actually, I'm not sure whether the top list was here last time or whenever. I don't know how to get that to go away. Gomo, if you're still listening, like, can you? I don't know how to get that to go away. I have actually paid, so I don't know why it keeps popping up and asking me for money. But anyway, right. Let's have a look at one thing that I wanted to do is have a look at what's good for Cathay. What's being taken so far. Says the Old World Realm SummerSlam. Liam Jordan, congratulations for winning with Cathay, and mainly, actually, I would say congratulations for painting the whole damn thing in such a short period of time, because they've not been, the models themselves haven't been released that long. There's a couple of lists I want to look at here. So you got the Sugar Zaddy, who is a level 3 wizard this time, not level 4. You know, I've said this a few times, but now they've changed essentially how the casting works. Your level 3 upgrade for 30 points is absolutely really good value for money. It's basically fuck all in terms of the cost, benefit for the cost, right? What do you get for upgrading from level 2 to 3 for 30? What do you get for 30 points? You get plus 6 inches on your dispel range. That's well worth 30 points. You get plus 1 to cast and dispel. Well worth 30 points. You get knowledge of another spell. Well, we know what that's worth because there's loads of those sorts of familiars. That's worth 15 points. Plus 1 to cast. I think there's a few items that are plus 1 to cast, and they tend to be about 40 points. So 55 points in total. And plus 60 dispel roll. Well, there's nothing that allows you to do that, but there are a few items that add 3. They also add other effects. So adding 6, I'd estimate that's probably worth about 40 points. So for the 30-point upgrade from level 2 to level 3, which probably should cost 80, 85 points, you get it for 30. So it's an absolute steal at 30 points. In fact, the fact that they've said that you can't have more than... This is one of the frustrating things about the recent errata, right? So they've changed it so level 3 and level 4 only get plus 2 to cast. So level 3 and level 4 essentially cast and dispel at the same level. So there's almost no point to the level 4 upgrade because you're paying another 30 points for another random spell. Whereas actually quite a lot of the spells that you want to take are the signature spells anyway. They keep making the signature spell laws better and better and better, which, you know, is a bit of a problem because it means the normal spells people aren't that bothered about. They're more bothered about how many signature spells they can take. So, you know, yeah, I'm not sure. So your level 4 upgrade, I'm not sure how much level 4 upgrade we're actually going to see in future, because, you know, you could spend those other 30 points on, like, for instance, well, this thing already has a 5-up ward inbuilt, of course. You know, why wouldn't it? But, you know, a talisman of protection is 30 points. For another 5 points, you can take a healing potion, right? There's a lot of stuff that you can spend that 30 points on other than basically another spell. And that's literally all it is. Your level 4 upgrade is, you know, another spell. So actually, you're better off taking level 3 and, like, one of the familiars that allows you to take another spell, because you're effectively then a level 4 wizard. Now, you can still only cast 3 spells a turn instead of being able to cast 4. So you do get an extra casting roll for a level 4 and an extra spell. Is that worth 30 points? Probably, but it's marginal, isn't it? And that's I guess that's the point I'd make. Because even with my level 4 wizards, I don't know. Even when I had like a Tzeentch wizard, I think I'd somehow managed to get it so it could cast. No, it wasn't Tzeentch. It was, I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I had a wizard where I could get it to cast 6 spells a turn, which is pretty cool. But like, well, maybe that was chaos. Anyway, whatever. 6 spells a turn, which is pretty cool. But like in the games that I played, I really only did like 3 or 4 a turn anyway, because the others just weren't on. So, you know, it's almost impossible to cast that many anyway. So actually being limited to your wizard level isn't really a restriction. Well, it's not a restriction for the factions I play. It is a restriction for Cathay, to be honest, because all their spells are pretty good and pretty usable. But it's got Law of Yin, which means he can occasionally get +3 to his dispel range. So it takes him up to, because he's level 3, he's got 24 already, so it takes him up to 27, which is a fantastically good rule. And you know that you've got +3 to your dispel range at the start of the battle. So, sorry, at the start of the battle round. Or you can, anyway, before you move. So you can move him into position where he can cast and not be dispelled, but your opponent can be dispelled because you've got that extra range. So very, very good. This is the general. It's got the Jade Blade of the Great Fleet, which is basically like a supercharged Ogre Blade, but cheaper. Because, you know, Cathay. And then he's got the Earthing Rod, which I think makes him immune to 1 miscast or something like that. And then he's got the Learned Feng Shi Bow, which I think is another spell, but I can't remember. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, bugger off. Let's have a look at Cathay. I mean, I always go for the cloak. I think the Cloak of Po Mei is just fantastic. But people seem to like these Feng Shi Bows. Sorry, they're basically familiars, right? So you got a Learned Familiar. Yeah, it's a spell familiar, right? Yeah. So you got a spell familiar for 15 points, which... whatever. Oh, yeah, and the Guardian is -1 to hit in combat. So... oh, sorry, what's he done? He's got the Jade Blade. I'll just show you the Jade Blade of the Great Fleet while we're here. Jade Blade of the Great Fleet. 70 points, so 5 points cheaper than the Ogre Blade. Strength +2, AP 2. It gives you regen 5 up, right? So it's not got the multiple wound thing of the Ogre Blade, but it's got pretty much everything else that Ogre Blade has. Plus it gives you 5 up regen. Just here's Ogre Blade by comparison. Ogre Blade has the same stats, Armor Bane, exactly the same stats. This has multiple wounds D3. So multiple wounds D3 is worth 5 more points than regen 5 up. I think that's a lie. 40 points is what it costs Chaos to get a 5 up regen. And they're fairly similarly defensively built. You know, remember this is a Wizard Lord, right? So toughness 5. The only way to get your Chaos Wizard Lord up to toughness 5 is to put him on a dragon, because none of the other mounts add toughness. Even the Manticore does not add toughness, right? So Chaos Dragon only adds 1 toughness. So you have to put your Sorcerer Lord on. I think I'm telling the truth there. Actually, I should just check quickly. I've got a Sorcerer Lord here. I know that. Yeah, he's toughness 4. So the only way to get a Sorcerer Lord up to toughness 5 is... so similar kind of... So the point I'm making is it's a similar kind of combat defensive profile to Chaos. So, you know, really, you'd have thought the items would cost the same. So, you know, it's 40 points for a regen, a 5 up regen save. And then you got this stupid weapon, which basically gives you that stat line for 30 points. So Armor Bane 1, so essentially a single hand weapon that functions like a great weapon for 30 points. But I mean, just wrong. I mean, Jade Blade is worth more than that. Monkey King's Wisdom, again, this is another one that's absolutely fantastic. I don't get Strength 10, AP 4. This is a 100-point weapon, hands down. Like any other faction, that will cost 100 points. Why Cathay get a 25% discount? Don't know. Anyway, really good blade. You know, you probably should take it for the regen. Then you got a Lord Magistrate, who's got a Sky Lantern with all the upgrades. He's got the Crystal of Kunlun and the Alchemist's Mask. So let's have a look at that. Crystal of Alchemist Masks is here. Plague of Rust with a power level of 3. Yeah, that's an auto include, I think, pretty much, you know, if you can fit it in the points. And the Crystal of Kunlun. Here we go. 5 at Ward. Oh yeah, and you get bounce back attacks on a 6, which actually, with him being on a chariot, so the chariot's got, is it a Lord Magistrate? Because I think they've got 3 wounds, haven't they? Yep. So it's a Lord. Oh my god! Does the Sky Lantern have close order? It does have. Oh, fuck off. Sorry. So basically, you put a Lord Magistrate on that Sky Lantern, it gives it 10 wounds, which means it gets +1 to combat res because it's got a unit strength of 10. Like. So, okay, so the 2 characters, the 2 mounted characters in the entire game that have unit strength 10 and are therefore big enough to get +1 combat res from close order is the Chaos Lord on a dragon, which I'd argue is probably the biggest beastie in the game, so fair, and a tiny administrator on a balloon. Like, oh, come on, guys. Like, anyway, so that's very good, obviously. And it's unbreakable, so it doesn't really need it, but whatever. It's got no real combat output, so it's never going to win a round of combat anyway, but still, like, why? Why don't you just make it 6? Shut up. So we, whoopsie. Pressed the wrong button. And then we got 2 units of Jade Warriors, a small unit of Lancers that are ambushers, so they're probably out there to hunt down war machines. Of course, the Sky Lantern, in addition to being an incredibly cheap chariot, allows you to re-roll those ambush rolls. Sorry, +1, -1 from the roll. I think you can declare after as well. Because, why would you want to limit people by making them choose beforehand when, you can just give them all the benefits of the cool rule? And now I'm ranting, and I could be wrong. You may apply a +1 or -1 modifier to the result when rolling. Doesn't really... it's not clear, is it? I would... Oh yeah, and everybody within 12 inches may re-roll all of your panic and rally tests, of course, because it's a heavenly beacon. And you get +1. I think you have to declare beforehand, actually. And if you're a TO, I'd suggest that you interpret Cathay's rules as prejudicially towards Cathay as possible, because they've got lots of cool rules and they don't really need help. Anyway, we've got 2 Cathayan Grand Cannons and a fire-aim rocket battery. The Ogre Load is definitely broken. All these can basically fire twice in the first turn. So for 500 points, you basically get 4 Grand Cannon shots and 2 Stone Thrower or Mortar shots in the first turn. Oh yeah, and by the way, this chariot allows the mortar to see everything that it can see. And it's an absolutely massive model. It's a huge model and it flies. So it can pretty much see anything apart from stuff that's behind trees. Because trees are infinitely tall, from a rules perspective. So, yeah, but anything else it can fire as normal. So hits are hits are hits. They don't have to scatter if it's firing indirectly, is basically the, because they need any help they can get, don't they? And then you got Cathayan Sentinel here, and he's gone for Terracotta Armour, which gives you a 5-up regen. So it's 5 at ward, 5 at regen. I think actually, although the Jade one is great because you can choose a bound spell and cast it with power level of 3. Out of the spell laws you can choose, you're probably going to go Plague of Rust maybe, but then you don't really need to do that because you've got it here, haven't you, with the Alchemist's Mask, sorry. So, and that confers the same benefit for 35 points, which is, but I think we're going to see the 5-up regen a bit more on the Cathay Sentinel. But but well done to Liam for taking it out. Again, even if you got a good list, it's really difficult to win a tournament just in general. So well done, Liam. Brian came in second with Cathay and was beaten by the other Cathay army. This tournament is interesting because I think it's the first one where we've used the Games Workshop 0 to 6 scoring scale. As you can see, it'd be fascinating if you could put these results up alongside a 0 to 20 scale, because I think you'd end up with the same result. by and large. And you've ended up with somebody basically running away with it, and the win-loss draw system essentially being more or less the same result. So there's no, I don't really see what benefit there is in the 0 to 6 system. I think with smaller tournaments you'd end up with different results than the win-draw-loss, but I think larger tournaments you're largely going to be ordered win-draw-loss, really, aren't you? So yeah. With a few little, changing of places where, somebody's done particularly well in a few games and therefore can leapfrog other players. But you get the same result with the 0 to 20 system, except the 0 to 20 system that, it's a bit more swingy. But anyway, right, it's 45 minutes into the video and I've only talked about one tournament. So let's go through all of those. Sorry, I've just got on Discord. I'm just starting to use it. I've never really used it before, so and being 40 now, I feel like an old man with technology because it never really seems to do what I want it to anymore. I remember being 20 of those of you out there who are still in your 20s. I remember being 20 and being quite a techie, nerdy kid, and I built my first PC when I was 9 or 10 or something. And mainly because I couldn't afford one, so I had to buy it component by component. But that's anyway. But so I was reasonably up on. I still can build a PC. Actually, I built this rig that I'm using at the moment. But stuff like software has way passed me by. I learned to code so I could build websites in the early noughties, but that's 20 years ago now. So my coding is massively is so out of date. I don't really know anything. Open div equals. That's about it really. Very, very basic and more or less useless nowadays. So yeah, why am I talking about that? Oh yeah, so Discord, there seems to be lots of buttons on there, and I've generated, because I've lost confidence, I've generated a fear in just clicking things to see what happens, which is something I used to do a lot when I was younger, just to explore things and break things on purpose to see what breaks stuff. I don't do that anymore. I need to go on. Anyway, shut up, Dan. Right. We are going to go through the states. Yes, there was something else I wanted to mention. The states for England or for the United Kingdom are still a bit weird. Because, the United Kingdom is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And I got the city wrong last time, apologies. But essentially, this doesn't include Ireland, right? Ireland is not part of the United Kingdom. They're part of Europe, right? So Ireland probably needs a separate category here if we're going to be geopolitically correct and sensitive. Which I note there's no Russia, so we're obviously trying to be geopolitically correct and sensitive. So Ireland should be a separate thing because it's not part of the UK. Lots of people have died about that very recently. So, and are still continuing to die about that particular debate. So, probably worth doing Ireland separately. Northern Ireland is a different country, and that's part of the United Kingdom. It's not part of Great Britain. Great Britain is Scotland, England and Wales, right? So if you really want to just separate out the states, you've got England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. That's UK, right? There's nothing else. That's just the UK. And then if ever there is a result in, say, I don't know, Jersey, just lump it in England. Isle of Man, difficult to say where you should lump that in. Probably Wales. I don't know. Maybe islands being a separate category. If there are a lot, which I don't think there are. Right. Okay. So let's have a look at the latest results. The weekend, last weekend was the 20th. So we've got no lists here. But Road to War Worcester, Richard Nurser managed to win it with Vampire Counts. Graham Gibbon managed to win Old World Lion's Heart with Orcs and Goblins, which is interesting. We'll have a look at that particular list. We've got Liam Jordan, which we talked about, with his Cathay list. The other Cathay list is quite similar. We've then got another 3-game here where Brennan Browning won it with Vampire Count. So well done, Brennan. We've got a Creation War host, which I want to look at. Nekar and Royal host. So these are an interesting top three here. So that's an interesting tournament. I'm not sure how many people were there. D-side Defenders on the 19th. Matthew. Well, it's Crichton, isn't it? Not me. Matthew Crichton managed to win with Tomb Kings. And then Count Fluffy III, Bringer of Darkness, Rimmer of Many, Master of the Sacred Shank, Defender of the Studs, Bane of Pigeons, managed to come second. Okay. But congrats to Count Von Fluffy III for coming in second, and Nick Walsh for finishing third. Old World War and Conquest 6 was on the 16th of July. Isn't that the... that was a midweek one. That's the Warhammer World midweek one, isn't it? So it doesn't have all the factions, so I don't care. I mean, well done to those who turned up and, what played and whatever, but, it's not representative of the meta, and Games Workshop should be allowing legacy factions at their own fucking events, because despite the fact that they're legacy factions, they publish the goddamn rules. If they didn't want us to play with them, they shouldn't have published the goddamn rules, but whatever. Just allow them at tournaments. They're not that good. You know they're not that good. You wrote the goddamn rules. Anyway, so this is a winning Black Orc list. Orc list. We've got a Black Orc, Trollhide, Night Goblin, level 3s. See what I mean? So that saved him 60 points that he can spend on other stuff. And really, for that 60 points, would he have got much of a better benefit? Not really. Bearing in mind with the wizard, on average on a turn, there's like 1, maybe 2 spells that you really want them to get off, regardless of where the wizard is. Like, they've got a couple of jobs. And they've got I definitely need you to do this. If you can do this, that's nice. And if you can do this, cherry on the top. Then you got a Night Goblin mob with 3 Fanatics and Spears and Netters and stuff. We've got some Wolf Riders, which is cool. Big unit of Black Orcs leaning into that infantry build, really. We've got some 10 Big Uns. Yeah, Orc Boy Big Uns, which is pretty decent. A bit of magic res there, which is quite smart. A couple of Wolf Chariots and a couple of Doom Divers. Best stone throwers in the game. Yeah, that's a pretty decent list. It's not totally unusual, but it's nice to see that the Orcs and Goblins, the better lists, are combining sort of different elements of greenskins. So I bet that's a really interesting army to look at, to be honest. So yeah, I like that. That's a good list. So well done, Graham. Good list, good result. Fantastic. Only 8 players, but yeah, actually very good list. I could see that doing well at better. Not better. Sorry, at bigger and more tense tournaments. Gothic Games Canterbury. We've got a level 4 here, level 2 Vampire Count. I mean, he's got Master of the Black Arts, so that's actually a level 3 wizard. Got a White Lord with the Standard of Reserve move. I think is what it is. And then we've got a Graveguard with a 5-up regen. We've got some Bat Swarms, Fell Bats, Blood Knights. This is a good list. I'm not sure about the Graveguard. I think personally I'd rather have like 40-50 Skeleton Warriors, something like that, with the Necromancer. But there's not too many Screams in this, and he's got the Blood Knights. We see this quite a lot, this Mortis engine, to basically follow the Blood Knights around, so that allows it to project power, and he's gone for dark magic to buff up the Blood Knights, really. Maybe that's what he's doing. But then again, he's got a Vampire Count with a Nightmare, so maybe the Vampire Count goes in there. Yeah, difficult to say. Sorry, I've got I've got like babies get cradle cap, props get scrum cap, so you get like lots of dead itchy skin around the back of your head, and stuff. It's like a little fungal infection that you just can't get rid of, and you basically get it from scrummaging. It's a rugby annoyance. There's a lot of rugby annoyances. I'm just going to shut that down, actually. Right. So that, I think, is the UK over the last week. Yeah, and I'm not going to look at that. So not a lot over the UK last weekend, but again, summer holidays are coming. And with that, we shall see, in fact, next weekend, I think summer holidays are here. So we shall see some way more results then. San Diego, the Old World RTT. Wow, we managed a tournament where somebody won it without winning all the games. I like to see that. I like to see a bit of tension at the top. And we've got a wild herd. Grand Cathay won Games Enter, so we'll have a look at that. Then Dark Elves, Ringer player, managed to win, but there's no goddamn list. Oh my word. That's such... Oh, you tempter. You you tease. Like, oh no, there's no results. That's fine. No, Dark Elves didn't win it. Yeah, shut up, Dan. High Elves managed to win this one. Just High Elves themselves, so that's interesting. Badger Start of Summer. Old World Tourney. You got SoCal. No lists here, but well done, Darren, Zach, and Giovanni. Hobby Chess Battle in the Old Worlds. That's still last weekend. Ront, although there's no games been played there. Are there any bigger tournaments? Buckeye Battles took place, but no rankings because he's not pressed the complete button. Oh, no. Oh, hold on. Oh, right. So they did a doubles game on the Friday, and then they did a 2-day GT immediately after. So well done to these guys. This is doubles, but it looks like a singles result, which is weird. Old World Day at Battle Pub. Seems to be actually 2 rounds were completed. July Old World. Well done to Drew. We've got a Renegades list there, so let's have a quick look at those. And well done to Adam, Jonathan, and Thomas for podiuming at the top of that particular tournament. Hold on, have I gone too far? I have gone too far, haven't I? Yeah. We looked at Drew fucking last time, didn't we? Right, so this list won the San Diego Old World RTT, Beastman Wildherd, Level 1 Brace Shaman, Bray Staff, Tuskal, we've got Wargore, Hag Tree Fetish on a Chariot, see that all the time, another Bray Shaman, on Chariot. On limitations, I think, controversial opinion, maybe, I think the unit limitation should also apply to mounts. I think that, say, for instance, with Cathay, with the Sky Lantern, it's a rare choice, and therefore you can only take 2. Regardless of whether you can take one as special or not, you can only take 2 because it's natively in the rare slot. So if you have a general who's a magistrate on a thing, and then another one as a special, that's the only 2 that you're allowed, right? And then, of course, if people then want to use their rare slots for Sentinels, then they can do that. So they could have a couple of Sentinels and a couple of balloons, but that would be the makeup of that particular army. I would suggest is the most sensible way to proceed. Sorry, I'm going to have to enshroud myself in darkness because the sun's just popped out from behind a cloud and is blinding me. Right. So, the thing, I don't know why my camera keeps doing this. It keeps adjusting the light level for absolutely no reason. Or adjusting the amount, or its aperture, wouldn't it be? We've got a Primal Warherd, which is a bit of a mix between Gauls and Ungauls. It's quite cool. I quite like it. It's thematically quite good. I don't know whether it's any good in terms of, like, on the battlefield, but, it's cool. Then we've got a big Gore Herd. We've got a big Primal Warherd. We've got some Primal Warhounds, which are, I think, pretty good, pretty decent. And then we've got a big unit of Bestigal and a Herdstone. So he's really leaning into the infantry build. So he's got essentially a load of wizards like floating around on chariots, casting spells and stuff. Probably casting Viletide, actually. Because Viletide, I'll just show you it. I don't know whether I've got a Beastman list. No, I haven't been working on a Beastman list. Boys. Beastie Boys. Let's go Wild Herd, actually. I quite like the Wild Herd. Have I done a Beastman review video? Don't know. Yeah, I have. Yeah. Oh, Kralmor's good. Oh, you've got to have a Primal War Herd. Interesting. And he's just buffed it, well, made it bigger just so it's actually worthwhile. What on earth was I looking for? Oh yeah, the casting value of the casting value of where's the oh, it'd be in here, won't it? Viletide costs on an 8. So actually that's pretty reasonable, isn't it? That's pretty reliable. Like, you know, because these lower level wizards need a 7 to get it off. It's 15-inch range, 5d6 strength, 1 no armor save. I think that's pretty good. Devolve could be good as well. So, yeah. Interesting. So he's basically got loads of spells going around. He's got a Wargore BSB. Who's the actual general then? It's this one. It's the Great Bray Shaman, who's also in a chariot. So he's got a lot of chariots. He's got 4 chariots basically floating around, and then a Wargore. Nice. And the Wargore's the BSB with -1 to hit and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's a really good list. I can see why it won. It did achieve a draw. A Dark Elf Renegade list drew against it. So well done, Stephen, for holding Joel back. But yeah, nice result, nice list. I think it probably needs a bit of tweaking for a bigger tournament, maybe. But oh, we've actually got a Miao Ying list. We have 2 cannons, Sky Lantern. See what I mean? Celestial Dragon Guard, 2 units, 500 points. Thank you very much. He's got a Sugar Daddy, not a Sugar Zaddy is what I call the Lord level, and this is a Sugar Daddy. So he's got a Sugar Daddy with the -1 to hit in combat thing. With the Guardian, you know, what did I call them? Familiar? Guardian Familiar. And we've got a Lord Magistrate with Sky Lantern. So he's got 2 Sky Lanterns, 2 cannons, Miao Ying, and some decent troops. That's a fucking cracking list, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to say. It's got high magic on Miao Ying because he wants to turn her ethereal. And actually, high magic's pretty good in general. Now, another rule that I'd rule is you have to decide which you're going to deploy as, and that determines how many spells you get to roll. So if you want to deploy as a dragon form, you can only roll for 2 spells, despite the fact that she turns into a level 4 wizard later. That's what I'd do. Because I really think it should have been they deploy on foot. Because that's how they're going to get to, you know. And also that's how it works in Warhammer Total War, the game, because they know that if you deploy her immediately as a dragon, it makes it very, very easy. Like, I mean, playing as Miao Ying in Total War 3 is quite easy anyway. You know, you don't need that extra help. Pity Games Workshop aren't as restrained as Creative Assembly, which is a bit of a weird statement to make. But anyway, we've got this High Elf list that did quite well. We've got a Noble, Steed, we've got a Prince on Dragon. Who seems to have paid for the upgrade to full... Does the Prince automatically come with full play? I can't remember. That might be... I don't think I've even got a High Elf list. Oh, okay. I've got this one. Prince automatically comes with light armor. Yeah. So I don't know how the list builder works. I'm presuming he knows that the Blood of Caledor gives him full plate for free. So maybe that's a free full plate version rather than just paying for it. I don't know. But yeah, he's got a Star Dragon. Is that the biggest one? Oh no, this is a Crace list. Hello. Oh, he's got a Stormweaver that's his level 3 wizard. I mean, Stormweavers, actually, I haven't thought about this, but they're pretty good now. Wizard level 3. Dark Magic is pretty nice on High Elves, to be honest. A couple of Power Scrolls on a Lore Familiar. I like that. Gets to pick his spells as well. So he can go for the Frenzy spell. Oh my god, you could put Frenzy and Hatred on Dragon Princes. Oh, Jesus. Like, I was talking to can't remember his name. King Pash, anyway. About like rerolls and their ability to, swing a game. Giving that to, because it's like 19 attacks at weapon skill, like 5. I mean, it's crazy that like ancient elven warriors that have trained for centuries are weapon skill 5, right? These are the elite of like the elves who've trained for hundreds and hundreds of years. Many, many lifetimes of men get up to weapon skill 5, right? You've got, dwarves who, again, lots of experience. You've got chaos warriors who are infused by the fury and the power of the chaos gods and mutated beyond, beyond any resemblance of humanity. Or you've just got, some troops that the Queen's promoted to being Celestial Dragon Guard, and they suddenly get hundreds of years of experience in over a weekend. Why doesn't everybody just do that? Like, yeah. Tell you what you want your elite troops, just send them over to Miao Ying. All she has to do is look at them, and they get weapon skill +1. He's got another unit, Dragon Prince, as well. He's really leaning into... And to be honest, I'm not surprised, because I think Dragon Princes are pretty good. Especially now the Impetuous change is now on leadership. So they're on leadership 9. I didn't think it was that bad to begin with, to be honest. But, people don't like it because it's unreliable. And, yeah, I've been at tournaments where unreliability has cost me games. But, I don't think it's that bad. Certainly better now it's leadership tested. So, cool. Well done, Ivans. Right, so that's the United States of America. Sweden did have the Battle for Sweden 3, a Mortuary Cult list 1. Don't really care about that list, but well done, David Eck. Anyway, there's not going to be anything surprising in this. No, nothing surprising in this. Apart from the Colossus. The Colossus is a little surprising. And then he's gone for 2 Necrosphinx. Because again, a Necrosphinx is rare. You can take one as special. But I think this TO is playing it. Well, it's natively in a rare, so you can only have 2. It's fair. Yeah, not a massively surprising list, to be honest. But well done. You've still got to put it together and put together the result and all the rest. So well done, David, for taking that one out. Dragon Prince's sisters, Silver Helms, and a couple of dragons. So double dragon and some Dragon Princes seem to be, like I said, they're pretty decent. So that's Sweden over the last weekend. Well done to those chaps. In Spain over the weekend, there were 3 tournaments. Tau El Orco Rojo Julio, maybe. The Old World El Orco. I can't roll my R's. Orco. I can't do it. Orco. Throat's too dry. El Orco Rojo. Julio, maybe. Sergio Martin managed to win, so well done. I'm sorry, I do like to pronounce things properly, but I don't speak Spanish, so I have no real idea how they're supposed to be pronounced. We've got Jamie Jaime coming in second, and Alberto coming in third with Orcs and Goblins. So let's have a look at those. Jesus wins this one. Worgen War Games with High Elves again. Another High Elf win in Spain. The Spanish really do like their elves, actually. The elven meta is pretty strong in Spain. As is displayed here. High Elves, Wood Elves, Talzin. Wood Elves podiuming is an interesting result, so we'll have a look at that. But well done, all of these chaps, for getting on the podium. So Worgen War Games, we've got Double Dragon, no, Archmage, Dragon, and a Stormweaver. So you got your 2 higher level wizards, and then we've got Reavers, Seaguard, Dragon Princes, and Sisters. This bit seems to be pretty standard now. So you need 20. So if you're going to build a high elf list, you need 20 Seaguard, some Dragon Princes, and plenty of Sisters of Avalon, and that's part of the key to victory. A prince that finds it difficult to die on a dragon, and then some wizards to do some, wizardy stuff. So yeah, that's a good list. That seems to be the standard high elf tournament list, with a few variations. Warriors of Chaos finally getting a podium post FAQ, or finally getting a tournament win. I think they've not been doing well, or as well as they could have been. We've got Dragon Ogres, we've got 2 Gigantic Spawn, we've got a reasonable sized block of warriors. I mean, there's 18 of them, and they do cost about 20 points each, double the amount of a Cathayan warrior with the same armor save. And they've got, but I mean, I do say that, but they get plus D3 to the movement because of Taskmaster's Scourge. Well, they got to pass a leadership test, but on 8 you're probably passing. They've got the Banner of that's an interesting inclusion. They've got the Banner of Rage, so they've got Perma Frenzy, so they can't lose Frenzy. They've also got the Mark of Nurgle, which means you need to reroll 6s to hit against them in combat. They've got great weapons and shields, so they can choose to go with either a 3-up save in combat or a 5-up save and a great weapon. So they're pretty reliable. Yeah, I like that unit. It's an expensive unit, but it's probably worthwhile. Banner of Rage, I'd question that inclusion because it does mean that you can't. You lose control of them basically as soon as they get within charge range. And a canny opponent will just kite them around and not let them get into combat ever. These are perfect for sending your light cavalry out, like your Illyrian Reavers. Just put them Taskmaster's Scourge might go off, which really does. Well, it doesn't really restrict, because if you've got Feigned Flight and Fire and Flee, or just Fire and Flee and a decent leadership, you can just keep running away. Keep falling back in good order, and just getting outside of. So you put yourself within their charge range. I guess that's why he's done Taskmaster's Scourge, because they've got movement 4, so they'd you need to put yourself 9.5 inches away in order to make them charge you. But then they might get plus D3 to their charge, which might be a 3, so they might have a 13-inch ultimate threat range, which means you've got to flee at least 3 or 4 inches. 4 inches, sorry, in order to not be caught. So, there's a bit of a risk involved there, but I mean, with Swift Stride, it's not that. I know, because you do only fall back in good order, don't you, when you fire and flee? So, you're not necessarily going to get it. So it's not that easy to kite around, but it's still pretty easy to kite around. Because they're not going to get the plus 3 all the time, are they? Sometimes it's going to be plus 1, and therefore you only need a 1 inch, fire and flee. So you can just bug out, and they've got to charge you because they're perma frenzied. Small event, only 2 games, but interesting list. Interesting to see with the way that Chaos is going. High Elves, Prince, Dragon, difficult to kill. Archmage, Dragon, difficult to kill. Doesn't really do thingy. He's got some white lions, despite it not being a white lion list, which is cool. He's got some Croatian woodsmen, so he's leaning into that. He's got some war lions, which I guess actually they're pretty decent war machine hunters. I mean, they're quite expensive for what they are, but still, they're okay. And he's got a lot of sisters. So Sisters of Avalon seem to be the pick, the go-to for a good high elf list. But well done, Sergio. Cool. So is that all of Spain? 13th was the weekend before. So that's our results in Espanol. Poland. Do we see any results in Poland? No, we don't. Online. I don't care about online. Nothing in Norwegia. We've got actually a result from a 5-game result. I want to look at this tournament because we've got an interesting sort of end of schedule here, really. And this was definitely last weekend, right? So we've got some ranking points coming up here. Is that new? I did send Gomo a message this morning about how to do a formula to rank up, to universalize a ranking score for any size tournament and any size, whatever. So maybe he's working on that. I don't know. So we've got James coming up with Vampire Count Renegade list and winning. Now, the interesting thing, I actually want to look at it on the actual platform. Oh, it's New Recruit. New Recruit is actually fairly decent as an army builder, but end of round 1 playoffs. Oh, hold on. Is it a team? It's a team championship. Oh, right. I see. So presumably this is the winning team. Yeah, teams just doesn't translate to this. Like, here we go. Sorry. Yeah. So this is the winning team. Right. Okay, so it's not the winning person got 3. Oh, it's not draws, is it? It's win, loss, draw. Yeah, I don't really team. Well, I mean, this will make the point for me, I guess. But like, if you're looking at like a team event, you tend to get more extreme lists. So you look at this. This is all shooting, right? So he's gone for pretty much an entirely shooting list, right? Or as much shooting as possible, with as much shooting as possible in this list, because that will be tied off against stuff that's very vulnerable to shooting. Then we've also got demons, which this is, quite quick and hard hitting in terms of, a list. And then you've got vampire counts. Now, and also he's using the demons renegades, which means you can have 2 greater demons, whereas in the normal demon list you can only have 1. So, that's pretty big. And then you got vampire counts. He's gone, semi-scream, but we've got this is a DPS check of an army, really. So, if something's not got a lot of DPS output, damage per second, so if something's not got a lot of damage output, then they'll tie the vampires against that. So it allows you to basically put so the lists tend to be more extreme, so they're not really reflective of the overall meta. But I mean, well done to those 3 guys for winning. I bet it was a great weekend. I've been to a team event, but not as a member of a team, just sort of turned up when one was happening and observed a bit, and it seemed like an awful lot of fun. But I don't really have any friends near where I live, so I'm not in any teams. But cool. So that was New Zealand. They had a team tournament. Well done them. Auf Deutschland, Zilch, en France, nul. I don't know what the Danish for Denmark. It's probably Danemark or something. In Canada, we had a doubles tournament here, and also the Red Dragon Old World RTT, which one day we had a Chaos Dwarf Renegade winner. Not surprised. That has a Black Horse Lloyd's of London war boss, a Black Hawk war. That's giving me an idea. A Black Hawk war boss, 2 seneschals, a token mob, shitloads of really cheap hobgoblins, hobgoblin bolt throwers, and some Taruks, which are also heroes. Why are they down the bottom? Hey, I thought a Taruk. Oh, can you take them in units of one? Didn't know that. Chaos Dwarves. Chorf. Can we take them in units of one? Bull, Centaur, Bull, Centaur, Bull, Centaur, Render. No, you have to take them in 3. So the Tarok is the character. But oh, it's Renegades, isn't it? Oh, do Tauroks become rare in Renegades? Not sure about that. Not sure they need that. I don't, Chaos Dwarves are already pretty good. I don't think they need much help. But then we got some Beastmans. Again, lots of low-level wizards with the Beastmen. Lots of Viletide going off, I reckon. And then got some Bestial Herd, some big blocks of stuff, some Gigantic Spawn, and a Herdstone. Yeah, good list. I mean, it'd be difficult to kill because there's lots of little things to deal with. And if you're a good Beastman player, you can position everything to sort of maximise the nuisance value of your army. And then we got Le Grand Seigneur, the Big Mister. Right. Infernal Armour. I think Lame is armour. No, Armour. Lame? Infernal. Don't know what that is. Right, so we've got Demon Prince. We've got presumably something on a Juggernaut and something on a Skull Throne. And this one's Khorne. So it's all Khorne. We've got 19 blood letters, 10 Furies, although they're gargoyles here, 6 Khorne Hounds, Chien means dog, 3 Écarisseur. What's that in English? So I don't think... Sorry. I genuinely didn't know that. It means butcher. But knackers. Khorne knackers. Oh my god, I need to do a list with loads of knackers of Khorne. Oh, knackers. That's too funny. That is too funny. They of course mean blood crushers, but why they've translated them to knackers, I don't know. Butcher, renderer, slaughterman, but blood crusher isn't a slaughter. Like, very weird. Anyway. Why they've translated? Maybe that's a cultural translation thing, and Naka is a blood crusher, but whatever. And then he's got a skull cannon, which is cool. So that's quite an interesting list. The thing with demons is that they do have a lot of damage output, and in the Renegades stuff, actually, this is worth mentioning. Their 5-up ward save isn't negated by magical attacks, which I think is a perfectly reasonable adjustment to demons, because like it basically means that demons against every other faction are okay, apart from like Chaos, where everybody's got magical attacks and then they just die. So like it does seem to me to be a bit of an oversight that they can't get their ward against magical, considering they can't get regen against magical already due to unstable, isn't it? I think. So they've already got an anti. They already lose out to magic anyway, and that's only really Nurgle. But yeah, this looked like a really interesting tournament. There was 22 people. Oh, that's now got a score in. Interesting. Hold on. I just want to see if... Oh, no, I put it in my messages, didn't I? So I wonder if he's... Oh, okay. He looks like he's actually working on that right now. So that's cool. So that's the... So essentially what this is, I'll just explain, is like the formula is... here. Why hasn't that worked? Oh, poop. I'm going to have to put it across. So here, so this is just me showing the formula, but basically it's like every single event, every single individual gets a player score for that. So essentially it's a composite of the rank percentile, of the win percentage, a little modifier because it doesn't make sense if you don't add the 0.1. It just, you get janky results. And then something that essentially rebases the tournament out of 1 million points. So if it's less than 1 million points, so in terms of total points deployed, that's easy because you take games times entries times points limit. So essentially this particular tournament there was 72,000 points deployed. So actually your gamer score is going to be like, you know, really limited because of this. It's 1+, so it's not like a small tournament is going to make your score almost negligible. No. But it's 1+ that percentage. So if it's if it's times 2, for instance, that would be essentially if you've got a tournament that's got 1 million points deployed, which actually some have been over, you get 2 times this score. And then there's this bit here, which essentially works out how many months ago the tournament was and then exponentially decays the score. So everybody's scores can count forever. The scores get decayed over time. But because it's an exponential decay curve, it never hits 0. So the score never becomes 0. Now, over, like, I don't know, about 30 years, it'll be so close to 0 that it might as well be. But still, it never hits 0. So everything always counts, which I think is, you know, fair. Cool. So that's nice. Thanks, Gomo. Bloody hell, it's an hour and a half in. Right, so that was Canada. And then there's this doubles thing. Well done to Marty and Bob Matacheski, maybe. And that's Canada. And then Australia. We had a tournament. Hooray. Jason Mulligan didn't call a mulligan and actually won it. So well done. With Lizardman. With, bloody no bloody list. Oh, please say that there are lists. God damn. I wanted to see what's in his Lizardman list. Right, but well done, Jason, Jeff, and Richard for taking that one out. So I think that's all the events. So I guess the last thing to talk about is what's coming up over the weekend. Anything to be excited about? So, you know, it's the first weekend of summer holidays, so it's going to be a big one. So we've got a 5-game tournament going off in Queensland, a couple of one-dayers. New South Wales is you know, very lucky in that they've got 3 one-day tournaments going on, and there's another one going off in Queensland throughout the rest of July, which is excellent. We've got a few tournaments going off at the start of August if you can't make any of those. So there's a 5-gamer over in Hamilton in New South Wales. I wonder what the theme of that's going to be. That looks like a fun tournament. Don't know about the Warhammer, but that looks quite nice. Well, actually, no, it's Australian beer, isn't it? It won't be very good. Sorry. I realised I just said something, but you know, I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to my beer. Well, no, I say that I will drink literally anything, but anyway, I'm not drinking now. It's just that was from the other day. I still haven't tidied up, but I quite like a Desperado, which tastes horrible, but I quite like it. So yeah, we got some tournaments coming up in Australia. So get to one of those if you can. Canada only has a 3-rounder going off in Nova Scotia this weekend, so there's a few a bit further out. A 4-round tournament there, which is interesting. 17 rounds. I don't think that I'll ever finish. Maybe it will. We've got the Battle of Middenheim going off in Tastrup. Why can't I roll my R's? It's very annoying. En France, nothing until September. Oh dear. I feel sorry for the French old world community because there's nothing going on. In Germany, we've got the Bundesliga, which seems to be 0 rounds, so I'm not sure what's going on there. German Comp, the restart, which is going off towards the end of July. Or in fact, it's ongoing now, isn't it? It's still ongoing until the 24th of August. So presumably that's a kind of a long-standing league rather than like an event per se. In fact, yeah, in Germany over July, there doesn't really seem to be anything at the end of the month. These are just things that are sort of being recorded in Old World rankings. You got Rise of the Old World 4 taking off in Mannheim on the 2nd of August, so a couple of weekends away. And then later on in September, you've got another couple of tournaments going on. But nothing huge in Auf Deutschland. In New Zealand, sadly, nothing really going off yet. Norway, again, not a lot really over summer. Got an online tournament, Sword and Baguette Team Fight 2. So there's a team tournament from the 3rd of July to the 10th of August, which for those of you who like online stuff. Nothing in Poland. Spain, I'd expect to see a bit. So we've got a 4-round tournament, League of the Old World, which is going to last quite a while. It looks it's going on until the end of the year. We've then got an actual, it says 27th to 28th, 3 rounds. Maybe it's 5 rounds, really. I don't know. 50-player cap tournament between the 27th and 28th of July. I'll just check it out on Best Coast pairings just to make sure. No active pairings. I mean, if it's a 2-day, it's probably a 5-game tournament. So Torneo Old World, I think they tend to be 5-gamers. So that's going off this weekend. That'll be really interesting to see how well that goes. And then later on, there's plenty going off around Spain. Normally, it's like clustered around Madrid, with a bit going off in Valencia and Barcelona. But yeah. That's the Spain. In Sweden, nothing in July, although towards the start of August, you've got a tournament called Gentlemen's Achievements, which, that was the wrong button to click. I wanted to click that. It's on New Recruit. Cool. It's like secondaries and stuff like that and stuff about spells. And then we've got a 1-day event on the 23rd of August later on in the month in Sweden. Now, let's do the US first because the UK should be the home of this, so it should be a lot going off in the UK. In the States, we've got the Old World Escalation League, the Old World League. Which is going on from the 1st to the 22nd, so that's a long-standing thing. That's another long-standing narrative escalation campaign. You got the Old World Summer Bash on the 26th to the 27th. Again, it's 2 days, so it's probably 5 rounds in New Jersey. You've got another tournament going off, a 30-player on going off in Pennsylvania over the weekend. We've got another one in New Jersey, Ashes of Empires, which is interesting. I say another one in the same state. I mean, an American state is generally bigger than the UK. So, you know, that's like 2 going off in the UK at the same time. Cathay comes to play in Idaho over the weekend. You've got the Old World Forge Tournament Series in Texas. You've got Palm Springs Open, which is a GT in California. You've got a gaming day over in Armsbury in Massachusetts. You've got HWP, the Old World July, which is presumably a 1-dayer in Plantation, Florida. And then you got the Old World, the Questing Tournament, which is taking place at the end of the month to the 1st of August, 3-round, 24-player, and loads of stuff going off in August. So, if you're in the States, check it out. There's tons happening, more or less all over the place. And in the UK, we should be spoilt for choice because it's the start of our summer holidays. Only 4 tournaments. However, they're big ones. We've got North East Scotland Old World League 3, which is currently going on from the 6th of July. 6 rounds in that. That's still ongoing, seems like. Saffron Fantasy Slam is a big GT. No, he's not a big GT. He's a small GT, sorry. It's a 5-rounder, 26th, 27th. That's a venue size issue, I think. But I think that one, I've heard good things about Saffron, and I really should go. But it's just, time, because we're going on holiday this weekend. Then we got Sanctuary Gaming is doing an event, a one-dayer called the Conquest of Ashfield. Ashfield is a little mining town just down the road from Warhammer. I played them at rugby last year, and they got a very good ref, so we ended up losing what was a game that we would absolutely should have... No. Yeah, that was Ashfield. Yeah, a game that we should absolutely have won. But we ended up losing to them anyway, which, as you can probably tell, annoyed me. Then we've got Fire in Kemmery, 26th of July, and other stuff going on throughout August. So get to an event. They are loads of fun. They're well worth doing. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say on that. So yeah, have a look at Old World rankings, play around with stuff. You can find some like lists and bits. Oh yeah, one last thing I wanted to do was have a look and see some Crace lists. So Creation Warhost. And let's go for from the errata to today. Okay, Lincoln Imps GT. It's still, that one is like the most recent, isn't it? Scott Oliver. Prince, Dragon, Crace, Hunter, Foot, Noble, Foot, Banner, Bow of Avalon, Sisters. So BSB, can he go in Sisters? Don't know, probably goes in Sisters. Two skirmishers to get in the way, and ambushers to do ambushy things. And actually that's a pretty decent unit of ambushers, because that is going to go through even a Cathayan cannon. And then he's got a block of white lions, which could get eaten quite quick. I just don't see how Crace are very good. Like, just genuinely, I just don't see how Crace are very good. But then again, I've never played against them, so wait for that game against Crace, and I end up getting tabled by them, and then I'm like, oh, I get it now. Cool. So, yeah, go and find yourself a tournament, get down to one. Don't worry about Crace too much. If they turn up, they turn up. If they don't, they don't. Whatever. And have a good week of Warhammer. I won't be doing a show next week because I shall be on holiday. I might do a quick short or something, which then means in a couple of weeks we'll be back to the Metacast and do it with a bit more detail. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. If you can, click the like button and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Make a comment as well. I do answer all my comments, well, or at least put a thumbs up. I mean, if I just put a thumbs up and a heart on it, that means I just totally agree. I've got nothing further to say. It's not that I'm being lazy. I just genuinely don't think I can add anything to what you've said. Yeah, put a comment, and I think that's all I've got to say. So, hour and 38 in, been quite a long video. Hope it's been useful, and I'll say toodaloo. Bye bye.